What if I told you? The final war in One Piece won't just be pirates versus marines. It will be the entire world versus the truth. And when it begins, even the Battle of Marineford War will look like a warm-up. Because this time, the target isn't a pirate. It's the world government itself. Everything begins at Laugh Tale. When Monkey D. Luffy finally reaches the last island, he will learn the true history of the void spread across the world. And who spreads it? Not Luffy, but Nico Robin, the only person alive who can read the poneglyphs. The moment the world learns that the celestial dragons erased 100 years of history, because a revolution begins. While Luffy becomes Pirate King, Monkey D. Dragon launches the biggest rebellion in history. The Revolutionary Army won't just attack Wanda, Dressrosa, Wano, Fishman Island. All kingdoms saved by Luffy will stand with him. This won't be pirates versus marines. It will be freedom versus control. And then, the shadow on the empty throne steps forward. Imu, the secret ruler of the world, the one who erased the Void Century, the one who destroyed Lelougia Kingdom with a single weapon. Imu isn't just a political leader. Imu might be immortal, possibly from the Void Century itself. And here's the theory. Imu may have had the immortality surgery from the Op-Op fruit performed centuries ago. That means Luffy won't just be fighting a government. He'll be fighting an 800-year-old enemy. Let's talk battles. Because this war will be chaos. Luffy versus Imu. Sun God Nika versus the false god of the world. Gear 5 awakened to its absolute limit. Reality bending versus ancient power. Dragon versus Akainu. Sakazuki has always believed in absolute justice. Dragon believes in freedom. Fire versus storm. Justice versus revolution. Zoro versus Mihawk. Roronoa Zoro must become the world's strongest swordsman. To do that, he must defeat Dracula Mihawk. And what better stage than the final war? Blackbeard's betrayal. Never forget. Marshall D. Teach doesn't follow anyone's plan. He thrives in chaos. Here's the twist. Blackbeard won't side with Luffy. He won't side with the government. He'll wait and strike both. His goal? To steal the ultimate power, possibly even Imu's ability. Imagine Blackbeard entering the battlefield at the peak of chaos. Three-way war. Pirates versus government versus Blackbeard. The ancient weapons awakens. We already know about Pluton, Poseidon, Uranus. Poseidon is Shirahoshi. Pluton is in Wano. Uranus? Possibly the weapon used to destroy Lelougia. In the final war, all three will be used. This won't be swords and cannons. This will be continent-level destruction. The Red Line may be destroyed. And if the Red Line falls, the all-blue becomes real. Sanji's dream fulfilled. And Fishman Island rises to the surface, fulfilling Madame Shirley's prophecy. Every great war demands sacrifice. In Marineford, it was Ace. In the final war, it might be someone even closer. Possibilities. Shanks. Garp. No more celestial dragons. No more slavery. No more erased history. The dawn that Kazuki Oden spoke about finally arrives. Luffy doesn't compare to the tsunami that's coming. What if I told you? The world of One Piece was never meant to exist like this. Not divided by seas. Not ruled by gods. Not chained by fear. What if the greatest lie in history was the world itself? Before pirates. Before marines. Before the world government. There was a time when the world was whole. There were no four blues. No Grand Line. No red line cutting the ocean apart. The sea flowed freely. People lived without borders. And laughter echoed across the world. At the center of this era stood a man history would erase. They called him Joy Boy. Not a king. Not a god. Not a ruler. Just a man. Who laughed? Joy Boy didn't conquer nations. He didn't command armies. His power was far more dangerous. He made people free. Wherever he went, people smiled. Slaves forgot their chains. Commoners questioned their rulers. And that terrified the kings of the world. 20 kings gathered in secret. They feared one thing above all else. A world where people no longer obeyed. A world where laughter was stronger than crowns. So they chose war. Not just against Joy Boy, but against history itself. The Void Century was not erased because nothing happened. It was erased because everything happened. The ancient kingdom fell. Its name vanished. Its technology was buried. Its ideals were forbidden. And the world was broken on purpose. The Red Line rose from the sea. Not a natural landmass, but a scar, a wall to divide oceans, cultures, dreams. The Grand Line was created to control movement, the Calm Belt to trap ambition. Navigation itself became a weapon. This wasn't geography. This was a cage. The 20 kings crowned themselves gods. And to rule forever, they created a throne no one was meant to see occupied. The empty throne. But it was never empty. In the shadows sat Emu, not immortal, but eternal through succession. A living embodiment of fear. The fear of freedom. But even gods make mistakes. They underestimated something ancient. Something human. Inherited will. Devil fruits were never curses. They were rebellion given form. Each fruit represented a desire so powerful. It rejected reality itself. That is why the sea hates them. Because the sea represents order. And devil fruits represent defiance. And among them, one fruit terrified the world government more than any other. The Hito Hito no Mi. Model, Nika. Nika was not a god. Nika was an idea. The idea that slaves could laugh. That chains could be broken. That oppression could be mocked. That freedom was contagious. When Roger reached the final island, he didn't find a weapon. He found the truth. The truth of the world. The truth of Joy Boy's failure. The truth of kings ruling through fear. And Roger laughed. Because the greatest tragedy in history was also the greatest joke. Roger knew he was too early. The world wasn't ready. It needed someone who wouldn't explain the truth. Someone who wouldn't rule with it. Someone who would live it. That someone was Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy is not Joy Boy reborn. He is what Joy Boy wished he could be. A man who doesn't hesitate, doesn't plan, doesn't rule. A man who laughs in the face of gods. As Luffy sails forward, the world begins to shake. Not because of power, but because of belief. The red line trembles. The seas prepare to reunite. Fishman Island awaits the sun. The final war is not about domination. It is about truth. When the red line falls, the world will become one ocean again. No celestial dragons. No gods. No chosen rulers. The empty throne will finally be empty. And the world will laugh. Not because everything is perfect, but because for the first time in 800 years, no one controls it. Somewhere on the sea, a boy in a straw hat laughs freely, not knowing. He fulfilled a promise made centuries ago. Because the One Piece was never gold, never power. It was the truth. That broke the world and set it free. The living world theory. The world of One Piece is built on a lie so old that even the ocean forgot the truth. We've spent decades looking for a hidden island, a lost kingdom, or a secret throne. But what if we've been looking at the answer every single time a ship sets sail? What if Joy Boy didn't lose the war 800 years ago? What if he didn't die? Visual. Quick montage of Luffy, Roger, and the silhouette of Joy Boy. What if Joy Boy became something far worse for the world government? What if he became the world itself? Theory 1. The king who refused to rule. Every pirate king seeks freedom, but Joy Boy was different. Most great men in history want to leave a legacy of power. Joy Boy left a legacy of apologies. Think about the Poneglyph in Fishman Island. He didn't leave a manifesto. He left us sorry. Theory 2. The seas will. Let's talk about the sea. Why does the ocean hate devil fruit users? We're told it's unnatural, but in One Piece, hockey is the only law. The sea doesn't behave like nature. It behaves like a judgment. It drains strength. It pulls you down. It rejects the dreamers. Devil fruits are manifested dreams. Literally fragments of Joy Boy's desire for a world where people could be anything. If Joy Boy merged his consciousness with the planet, the sea isn't a mindless body of water. It's a living filter. It tests those who carry his power to see if they are worthy of the freedom they've claimed. Theory 3. The Great Sacrifice. Joy Boy realized he couldn't win a traditional war. If he fought Emu directly, the world would be reduced to ash. So he chose a total existence sacrifice. He split his essence into 4 pillars. The sea, to maintain balance and test the dreamers. The devil fruits, to give humanity the tools for freedom. The Poneglyphs, to ensure the truth survived the fire. The D clan, to ensure his blood and his will would eventually wake up. Theory 4. Why Roger laughed. When Roger reached Laugh Tale, he didn't find a weapon of mass destruction. He found a story. He laughed because he realized the world government has spent 800 years trying to control a world that is literally the man they hate. The five elders are terrified of laughter because laughter is the ultimate sign of understanding. You can't rule someone who knows the tragedy is actually a celebration. Theory 5. Luffy is the final test. Luffy isn't Joy Boy reborn. That would be too simple for Oda. Luffy is Joy Boy's final exam. He doesn't want to save the world. He just wants to eat with his friends and be free. That is exactly why the world, the sea, is choosing him. He is the only one who wouldn't use the One Piece to become a new tyrant. That's all for the theory end. Next time you see Luffy struggling in the water, don't think of it as a weakness. Think of it as the world reaching out to see if he's still got the heart to laugh. Also, what do you think? Did Joy Boy become the atmosphere itself? Is Emu just fighting a ghost they can never catch? Let me know in the comments. 800 years ago, the world was different. There was no red line dividing the seas. There were no celestial dragons calling themselves gods. And there was no empty throne hiding a shadow king. Then suddenly, 100 years of history vanished, erased from books, forbidden to study, punishable by death. Why? What happened during the Void Century that scared the world government so much that they rewrote reality itself? Who was Joy Boy really? Why does Emu sit on a throne that's supposed to be empty? And what if the Red Line, the ancient weapons, and even the will of D are all pieces of a single forgotten war? Today we're diving into a massive theory that connects everything: the ancient kingdom, the fall of a revolutionary world, and the truth behind the greatest cover-up in anime history. This is the real story of the Void Century. The biggest secret in One Piece isn't Laugh Tale. That isn't the One Piece treasure. Isn't even Joy Boy. That it's the Void Century. 800 years ago, 100 years of history were erased. Not lost, not forgotten, erased. And in today's video, we're diving into a massive theory that connects Joy Boy, Emu, the ancient weapons, the Red Line, devil fruits, and the true purpose of the world government. This is the true story of the Void Century, the world before the Void Century, long before the rule of the world government. The world was not divided. There was no red line cutting the seas in half. There were no four blues separated from each other. The world was one unified ocean, and at the center of that world stood a powerful kingdom, the ancient kingdom. We don't know its name because the world government fears even the sound of it, but we do know this: it possessed technology far beyond the present era. Created weapons capable of destroying islands, and it carried an ideology. So promise wasn't just about moving an island. What if it was about a world without rulers, a world without gods? The war that shook the planet. Now here's where the theory begins. The ancient kingdom wasn't evil. It was revolutionary. It believed in equality, in freedom, in removing the gods from power. And that terrified the kings of the world. Living above the world, literally, on top of the Red Line in Mary Geos. The Red Line was artificial. Here's the core of this theory. The Red Line is not natural. It was created during the Void Century. Using one of the ancient weapons, possibly Uranus, the Alliance reshaped the planet itself. They split the seas. They divided the world. They isolated cultures. They prevented unity. Why? Because unity is power, and Joy Boy's ideology was spreading. By dividing the oceans into East Blue, West Blue, North Blue, and South Blue, they stopped global communication. By placing Mary Geos at the top of the Red Line, they made themselves literal gods. The world was reshaped to suppress freedom. Emu, the Shadow King. Now let's talk about the biggest mystery. Emu, the ruler of the world, the one sitting on the empty throne, the one who erased Lelugia Kingdom from existence. What if Emu was originally one of the 20 kings? But not just any king, the leader of the Alliance. And here's the crazy part. What if Emu is immortal because of the Ope no Mi's eternal youth surgery? That would explain how someone from 800 years ago still rules today. Emu didn't just defeat Joy Boy. Emu erased his name. erased his kingdom, erased his era. But here's the twist. If Joy Boy had the Nika fruit, the sun god fruit, then Emu represents the opposite. Darkness, control, silence, sun versus shadow, freedom versus order, laughter versus fear, the meaning of the D. Another massive piece of the Void Century puzzle is the will of D. Gold Roger, Monkey D, Luffy, Trafalgar D, Waterlaw. The D carriers are always enemies of the gods. The celestial dragons call them natural enemies. What if the D stands for the name of the ancient kingdom? Or perhaps dawn, because the Void Century was the night, and Joy Boy was waiting for the dawn. Roger laughed when he reached Laugh Tale. Why? Because he discovered the truth. He learned that Joy Boy's plan was unfinished, and he was too early. The ancient weapons. Poseidon, the power to command sea kings. Pluton, a battleship capable of mass destruction. Uranus, still unknown, but likely capable of reshaping the sky or land itself. What if these weren't weapons of war, but tools to reshape the world back to its original form? Poseidon to calm the seas. Pluton to break the red line. Uranus to destroy Mary Geos. Not to conquer the world, but to free it. The promise to Fishman Island. Joy Boy apologized in a poneglyph. Why apologize? Because he failed. Perhaps he lost the war. Perhaps he was betrayed. Or perhaps he realized something terrifying. The world wasn't ready. But he left instructions. On indestructible stones, the poneglyphs. Scattered across the world. Waiting for someone. Waiting for the next Joy Boy. Luffy and the final war. Monkey D. Luffy doesn't care about history. He doesn't care about ruling the world. He just wants to be free. And that's exactly why he's dangerous. When Luffy awakens his devil fruit and becomes Nika, he becomes the embodiment of Joy Boy's will. Not reincarnation. Inheritance. The final war won't just be pirates versus marines. It will be the world versus the system. The destruction of the Red Line would unite all seas into the all blue. Fulfill Sanji's dream. Destroy Fishman Island, but allow its people to live under the sun. End the reign of the celestial dragons, because it was inspiring. Because if people knew the truth, they would rise up, just like the ancient kingdom once did. So here's the final question. When treasure isn't something you own, it's a world where everyone is free. And the Void Century was just the night before the dawn. If you enjoyed this deep dive theory, imagine what Oda is cooking for the final saga. Quality. A warrior who carried the sun on his back, and a ruler who chose control over freedom. The world government didn't erase the past because it was dark. They erased it because it inspired hope. And now, 800 years later, a boy with a straw hat is laughing in the face of the world's so-called gods. Monkey D. Luffy doesn't want to rule. He doesn't want a throne. He wants freedom. And that's exactly why he might be the one to finish what Joy Boy started. If the red line falls, if the seas unite, if the true history is revealed, then the Void Century won't be empty anymore. It will become the dawn of a new world. And when that moment comes, the entire world of One Piece will change forever. Because the night is almost over, and the sun is about to rise.